New York Comic Con has a very special place in my heart.
Every year I look forward to Comic Con. The community is awesome. People are super friendly. It's like
you can just be yourself.
It's very exciting to see other people. It's really special. I mean, I feel like we kind of speak a
It took a while before I realized that I wasn't alone in the world.
It's 100 worlds in one.
It's just home.
Hello.
So if I'm squinting weird, it's because the sun's
It's right on here.
Something like this.
I got to get a grip in here. You guys are terrible.
Can you just introduce yourselves for us?
Sure. I'm Molly Parker. I play Mrs. Robinson.
I'm JJ Feild and I play Ben Adler.
So what are you most excited for fans to see in season 2?
Ooh, well,
what are we allowed to say? In the clip, the Scarecrow. I was in a clip, so I can't say anymore, but Scarecrow is
pretty awesome.
You've got the new one.
Yes, the 3-eyed monster. It's pretty cool.
The scale of the show, I think the show has really found, how do I say it? The show now, I think, is just exactly what it was meant to be. I mean, the scale of it is so much bigger than last season. I think the stakes are higher. I think everyone sort of found their groove in terms of just all of it, the look and the visual effects, and I think the performances really settled into what they're meant to be. I think it's honestly really good. So I'm quite excited to people like it.
It's epic this season.
It is epic.
The first season was an incredible adventure. This season is epic. It's found its volume, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's turned up to 11.
Well, I mean, it kind of started out with the family sort of fractured.
Yes.
And by the end, the family unit is back together. But now you're in a whole new place, kind of isolated with other people.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what effect that's going to have on the family unit? And
sure. Well, as you mentioned, much of the first season was about the family sort of emotionally repairing itself and coming back together. I think when we find the Robinsons this season, they have been in a fairly safe space for about 7 months, and just with themselves. Maureen is ready to leave because, as she is, she wants to get out there and adventure. And so quite quickly it turns out that we all get sort of physically separated. So the separation is a much more, John and Maureen are doing well together, but physically we all end up in these other separate places. And so JJ and I
get thrown in the mix.
Yeah.
I get most of this season for me is with Molly and Max. So everyone has these different adventures, and my adventure is with them. So it's the outsider thrown in amongst this well-oiled machine, and that was a fun dynamic to play. Where and when can I speak up? Because theoretically, on paper, my job title is the boss, as it were, but I'm certainly not the boss of a situation out in the wilds. That's not what he's good at.
So I think you all alluded to it, and then a lot of people alluded to it as well, that the scale is bigger, so it's more grand. So how do you avoid, I guess, not necessarily shrinking, but how do you avoid staying the same size? How do you keep up with the scale as actors? Like how do you, I guess,
I don't know that that's so much our job in a way. I think that these actually don't know how to answer that question.
For somebody who hasn't done any of the script, like coming in new to it, I think they say to you, look, this is what the CGI is going to have a ride coming over the hill, and then there's going to be a terrifying thing coming in. But no matter what the scale is that they tell you, as an actor, you have to find the detail that works. You have to find the truthful element of what that is, and that might be, if you're playing a thing and it's your kid's first day of school, and the fear of that, there's an element of that of the first day you go up in a rocket ship. There's still an element of finding the first moment of fear, and so even more so when it's big, huge sci-fi special effects, you have to find the element of truth that's underneath it. And the great thing for us is that we had Max, who commits to the reality of it. For him, it's real. It's lovely to have someone who's so beautifully involved and not old and cynical like the rest of us. So I really pitched off of him and how his commitment.
Yeah, because it really does only work if you just commit 100% to the most absurd situations,
So Molly, being the mother on the show, and seeing Max flourish into, obviously the son of the show, but flourish into a star in his own. What type of advice, because obviously you've had a really long, successful, very versatile career as well too. What type of advice and conversations have you and Max had as you see him flourish into the guy he is now?
I don't think that I've given any advice really, but I do, with all of the young actors on the show, I guess I try to set a professional tone at work. I do try to encourage, just through my own behavior, how you show up at work on time, and you learn your lines and you treat people with respect. I mean, the things that the way in which you would with your own children in terms of just how you behave. And I think this business can be very tricky and scary for children, and full of unreality. So just try to keep us all grounded.
I think you've been
I'm
very
pretty
humble,
mean.
Because she's an inspirational guiding light on the show. It really is. She's our spearhead and our leader, I found. And exactly what you said, both as from a professional aspect, but also from a acting and technical aspect. It's technically very difficult to figure camera and line, your line and your sound with all the other stuff. And absolutely, I learn a lot from you, and I know that the younger cast as well certainly look up to you as a real guide for us. I get to blow your trumpet.
Okay, thanks. It's really fun. I mean, the truth is we really have a lot of fun, and we're really lucky because these are great kids, and I don't love working with children, and even though I do it a lot because I play a mother, because you don't know what you're going to get, and it's fun to go play act for an hour, but it's not as much fun to do it for 8 hours, and you can't get your costume dirty, and you also have to go do school in between every setup. It's hard work, and
the only good thing for us is it means you don't do a lot of night shoots, so the days are shorter than normal.
Yeah, because you're working with children, and they can work shorter hours. Yeah. Although often that means that the adult, you do the stuff at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, and they use the kids in the middle. But it's hard. It's hard on them, and we are in we have the best cast. We have great families. They're good.
There's no ego, is there? When I came onto the show, you see there's a big spread of all different ages, and the world of it's all social media and likes and fame. There's none of that on that set. It was lovely that there were people even from very young to all the way up that come to work and we have fun and we go play. And I don't know what people are doing in their private lives to do all of that.
Except Toby.
Except for Toby, he doesn't. He just plays.
He's not here, so we can take it.
But I didn't see I was just people always on phones. No one's on phones. Everyone's there engaging and being together and having a laugh. And that was wonderful.
It's fun. We're lucky. It's really lucky.
In the last season, in the kind of mending the family, I think most of it was between the husband and wife. I also found fascinating Maureen's relationship with her daughter, and especially Judy. And I think it's a really complex relationship. Can you talk about your character's relationship with her children?
Yeah, absolutely.
And where is it going to go?
Absolutely. Maureen is, I think, a very demanding mother, a very demanding parent. She has very high expectations for her children. Her eldest daughter is a doctor at 18, you know, so clearly the values in the family are about education, about hard work, and you know, doing things you don't necessarily want to do. I mean, these children are not pampered, spoiled children at all. And so, one of the things that I've always liked about what the writers have done was the sort of stereotypical genderedness of our roles between John and Maureen gets sort of flipped in some ways. You know, Maureen is very, you know, she's very sort of logical and science-minded, and if she just thinks hard enough, she's going to be able to figure her way out of whatever hole they've gotten themselves into. John's a much more emotional character, and so you know, his relationship to the children in some ways sort of takes on sometimes, I think, that maternal play. You know, so there's this sort of switcheroo that happens. But one of the things that I have loved always about this show is that there's a kind of aspirational quality about gender in terms of gender roles, you know. It's 30 years in the future, and in our 30 years from now, the women are as capable as the men, and no one ever questions it. It is just the way it is. And so we don't have to talk about it, you know? We don't have to discuss it. In the same way, we don't really have to talk about why Judy's mixed race. Like, well, she had a different dad. I mean, it's just the family looks like any family that we all are part of. Now, I love that it doesn't need to be discussed, you know? So, and I find that to be like aspirational, frankly, and I love that kids get to watch this show, and there's no question that the young women and the young men, that Max cries sometimes, that the girls rage sometimes, that there's sort of an allowance for just complicated human beings, you know?
I'm going to steal everything she just said.
Thank you both.
Thanks so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.